It's easy to think the world's next great tech companies will come from Silicon Valley, New York, or Toronto. But innovators from around the world beg to differ, and I'm out to discover who they are and where they're from. From Addis to Jakarta, from Dakar to Bogota, I'm Dan Herman, and this is their world, our future. If you think your 2020 has been tough, imagine being in Beirut, where COVID, a massive explosion, and a pretty unstable political situation make every day a challenge. That's what Synkers CEO and co-founder Audrey Nakad has been up against this year. Yet despite it all, she's raising millions and quickly growing her edtech platform throughout the region with goals for much, much more. Good morning from Toronto, and good afternoon to you in Beirut.
Thank you. I miss Toronto. I used to live there.
Oh, and did you like it?
I loved it.
Audrey, Beirut is usually in the news for not the greatest of things, especially in 2020, but you've had a really exciting year. You've raised some money, you're growing. Tell me about Synkers. What is it, and where did this idea of a peer-to-peer tutoring platform come from?
Synkers comes from two words, synchronization and the thinkers, because we're connecting learners to highly qualified private tutors in 3 simple steps. Let me tell you the story behind Synkers. So Synkers started back then when I was working in Montreal at Sunlight Financial. And I always knew I come from an entrepreneurial family. I always knew I wanted to start my own business. So my sister came to me and told me I need a tutor, and a bunch of friends asked me, how can I find students? And I noticed that there is sort of a disconnect and a gap somewhere where students can't find tutors, and on the other hand, tutors can't find these students. So, and back then, 5 years ago, marketplaces started growing, like, you know, the Uber of everything, basically. So I felt there was a gap in the education space. I started studying everything and noticed that it's a burdensome process to find a teacher. So I left everything, studied everything, and quit, you know, my job, left Canada to start everything in the MENA region.
One wouldn't think of Beirut in particular, but of the MENA region as somewhere that a startup's going to thrive, or at least that's probably the biased, ignorant perspective that many people have in North America. You know, how big of a risk was that for you to pick up shop and to leave?
You're definitely not an ignorant. It's a big risk, and I used to work in finance, so more risk, more return. But the reason why I chose Lebanon, and this is in particular one of the reasons, other than I know the market, one, it's cheap in terms of resources. And what's great is that we're known in the education system in the MENA region to be really good. So I'm not sure if you heard of the American University of Beirut, but it's the top one in the whole region. So you have people from Saudi, from Jordan, from everywhere around the MENA region coming to the American University of Beirut. So we have the caliber, and that's why I've decided, because it's in education in particular, I've decided that's why I chose Lebanon.
Now, when you go out, whether in the region or even when you come back to Montreal or Toronto and you tell people what you're doing, are people surprised you're doing it in Beirut?
You need 2 things to succeed. You need the right team. This is the most important thing, and the right market. And all the rest, you can figure it out. Because at the end of the day, in every market, you have problems, and the startup is a solution to that problem. But the next question comes, how big is that market? How big is, like, what's your target audience like? So that's why the biggest problem of Beirut is that the market is not big enough. You can have definitely all the ops, all the product that is done out of here if you can find the talent, but when it comes to selling and to the market, is definitely Saudi or Egypt. This is where you can find scale. You know,
the Lebanese market is not very big, but you've got a region that I assume, and I assume your investors are saying, okay, tackle the region first. But at the same time, you've built a platform that when I first learned about it, I thought, well, sure, I could use this. Anyone I know could use this. How big are your dreams or your goals with Synkers?
I left such a stable job and rewarding job to conquer the region, and ideally, globally. So my aim is to create or build the largest community of knowledge exchange. And so that everyone who wants to learn something would go on Synkers. So we're offering not only a matching platform, it's a learning journey. And you can start as soon as you're in KG1 up until K12, or even, after university, because your learning journey doesn't stop. Even as a professional, you keep on investing in developing your skills.
As you scale, are you able to find the resources, the engineers, the coders, etc., to build this in Beirut, or is it you have to look around the region and find those people?
In general, and I'm sure you know it, and it's not only a MENA problem or a Lebanese or a Beirut problem. Usually technical people, good, talented technical people are scarce all around the world, and we know it, unfortunately. And they're very expensive. And also we heard about the biggest, problem in the valley, where even the big tech companies try to steal the best engineers from one another. So it's a big problem everywhere worldwide. In Lebanon, it's tough to find also good engineers because the good ones leave the country. Obviously, they have better opportunities. But I think what makes it, I would say it's definitely challenging, and it has been my challenge since day one, even to find the right co-founder who has a technical background. But with a success story, with a story that you're trying to build, with your vision, this is how I was able to attract tech talent. It's more about selling the story rather than anything else.
I was in Beirut the last time would have been a decade ago, and it's a beautiful city, but it's a city that's evidently defined by a very torturous history over the past century, and in particular, even the last year, the explosion, the protests over the last year. And you mentioned, lots of young people leave the country, and I saw a statistic, 50% of young women of STEM graduates leave the country. You're the opposite. You've come to the region, you've left Montreal, you've come to Beirut to build a company. That's a fascinating decision, but do companies like yours give young people a new path in Beirut?
What I'm trying to fight here, and I'm trying as much as possible to create job opportunities, because one of the biggest problem why the talent are leaving is because there aren't any interesting job opportunities in the country anymore for them. And the ambitious people do not accept a regular job. They want something bigger. They dream. As you said, they do the opposite and go to the US or to Canada or to Europe. Well, we're trying our best, and this is what I'm trying to do, is to recruit top talent from top universities in the country and keep them here. But at the end of the day, it's not only about finding a challenging job, but also it's being able to maintain them financially, to keep them motivated, and at the same time, for them to see that the company is growing is very important for the morale of the team. So if they find that, we're in a way restricted and we can only operate in Lebanon, they would definitely leave everything and go elsewhere because they're ambitious. So we're trying hard. I'm not going to lie to you. It's not easy because everything is against us today in 2020. You're there in Canada, a developed country with all the funds required. You're backed by the government. You have the right infrastructure, the right technology, the right talent. And you have, why all the brilliant, let's say, Lebanese are going to Canada? Because you can dream there. You can build like your big vision. That's why even me there, I would say, there is no way and a Lebanese, startup would make it. It's impossible out of Lebanon. And the reason why I came back, and I didn't want to prove them wrong, to prove everyone wrong, is just because I feel there is something in this country that we can do and export it.
One of the things I love about conversations with entrepreneurs like Audrey is that despite the risk, they go for it, and they do it because they want to help lead the places they're from forward. That's certainly Audrey's case in Beirut, and it's common across all the interviews we're doing for this series. So if you like this conversation, please press the subscribe button and join us next time for more of Their World, Our Future.